All right, I called my presentation today, Finding the Hidden Lever or Lever. I'm Canadian and American now, so I don't know how you say that. And that's because it's something that my business partner and I have talked a lot about lately, being a key to a lot of the businesses that we know and interact with, as well as our own business. And I'll explain how that works in a little bit. Whoops. Okay, so I'm currently CEO for Arrowstorm Entertainment. We make movies, and we make a lot of movies, kind of more than anybody. We make genre films. You'll see what that's like, kind of like films for nerds and fans of that kind of thing. So, and we'll get into that. I want to start with talking about, you hear a lot from entrepreneurs, and as you hear, everybody's going to tell you, oh, fail. It's great to fail. I've failed at a lot of things. A lot of these things I don't like to call failures. They're successes because I made money at them and they took me from some part of my life to some other part of my life. But these are kind of jobs I've had. And somewhere around this 26 down has been my last 10 years in what I'd call sort of a professional life. I'm actually doing things that I would call maybe a career. All these other things leading up to it are all kinds of jobs and experience I had. But why that's important is even when we look down at the bottom with Arrowstorm and this Collider thing that I'm maybe doing right now, everything that I've done in the past and all of those other things have really, I can point to, at any one you could throw a dart and I could point to how that shaped and changed what I did ongoing. And so you'll hear a lot about failing and why it's important to fail and good to fail and a failure leads to success down the road. I believe that that's true, but I believe that I only put up things here that made me money. That at some point in time, money came from the thing and went into my pocket. And I do that for a reason because I think it's important to do that early and to have that attitude in your business that this is a living and it's something you're going to do for a living. And I think that's important, and we'll go to there. Okay, 7 things I've learned. We're not going to do all 7 right now, but we're going to talk about one, which is the hidden lever, and I just want to start out with it. That's like a secret door. The hidden lever idea comes from that in every system, and an industry is a system, and a market, a product segment is a system, and in every system there are levers. And these are, in the mess of all that thing, there are certain points that if you can find them and use those leverage points, you'll discover new businesses. And I believe that every successful new business has discovered some one of these things. And if someone says, here's my business model or my business idea, generally they're going to point out what they believe that they've discovered to be some new thing that they can turn or they can crank on and apply leverage and have a successful business. And it's different from the way everyone else has seen the industry typically. No one else has focused quite on that lever the way that they have. How did that work? Okay. And the reason we talk about it as a lever is because you can apply a small amount of pressure to that lever to cause big changes. There are little things that no one else is doing that when you run the spreadsheet, you guys learn sensitivity analysis? Anybody do that? So in a sensitivity analysis, you take some factor and you kind of pull it one way or another, or you stretch it, and you change that number or that factor, and you see what it does to the whole model. That's what we're doing on an ongoing basis. Okay, and the reason I say that now is because throughout the rest of the presentation, I want you to be, if you can, thinking about what the hidden levers were in my business and why they sort of got me where I am now. Okay. There's me. This is to kind of show that I've had this attitude forever, doing strange and challenging things that seem unreasonable or not to be done. A lot of people since then have made pop bottle boats, but I was one of the originals. Whoops. There, yes. This is my brother Matt. He's crazier than I am, but not at this time. All right, I built, I tried to make these sandboards and wanted to see how to make that. It was a huge failure, so that's fail. This is a 40 camera bullet time rig for anybody who remembers like the Matrix and stuff when they were doing that. This is back when that was brand new. But our thing was that these are underwater cameras. So we're the first ever underwater bullet time rig. And I built that in my undergrad. And then National Geographic actually liked it so much that they invited us out to shoot alligators with it in Washington. So we did some of their dangerous encounters, dogs and alligators and stuff like that. We'd freeze time and move around with our cameras in the water. So yeah, doing strange things in my undergrad. Then I got into film. Started producing movies. My first movie was that Mormon Pride and Prejudice. Some of you may have seen it. That's like 10 years ago now. And that was my first film coming straight out of university. I said, I'm going to make a movie. And a story that I've maybe never told before that I was thinking about today. I was like, what can I say about that? It was actually Singles Ward that inspired me. It was so kind of bad and easy looking that I said, I could do that. And decided that Pride and Prejudice, which certain of my wife's friends and other people loved this film and these book series, and I didn't like them at all, but I thought they applied perfectly to Mormons, so put those together and made a movie. That was successful, did pretty well. I have the trailer here for that. Oh, no sound. Okay, we'll skip that. So then I did this one, Moving McAllister. Moving McAllister was a bigger budget, worked with kind of stars. If anybody knows, that's John Heder in the middle, and that's Mila Kunis on the left. And so we had a bigger budget, raised some significant capital for that, and put together a bigger movie. Coincidentally, that's the only movie I've ever made that failed to make its investors their money back. It's the highest budget thing I did. It had stars, and it was really, really difficult for it to break even. It did all right. We made some money. Everybody got something back, but that's the only one that hasn't broken even. Everything else I've ever done, it's maybe 15 movies now or something that I've been involved with has been profitable. And that's strange and bizarre in the independent film industry, and I'll kind of tell you how that's done. Then I started making these other movies. Oh yes, so here's me with Mila Kunis. Fun. Okay. So as I started making these other movies, I let's go back. Okay. These are all one-off films. So each one of these is a company. Okay, Best Boy Pictures, Greenlight Pictures, I think Dragon Hunter LLC, Orc Movie LLC, Fantasy Feature Funding 1, I don't know. Okay, these are all companies. And every single time we made a movie, I had to go out and raise capital, put big presentations together, go around meeting lots of people, convince everybody that we were worth the risk, very difficult, and then raise the capital, make the movie, finally finish the movie, and then it'd be about a year and a half later. It takes usually over a year to make a movie. Start the process all over again. Okay, extraordinarily difficult and impossible to make a living at. Okay, because even when one of these succeeded, there's so many people sharing in the success of that film that maybe you could make a very modest salary out of it if you did one every single year. Okay, so I said, no way. I can't do that while I'm producing films. While that's going on, I'm going to run a video game company. So I did that. Had some success with that, raised well over $1 million, fought hard, and lost. Okay, so my video game business didn't really take off. We had some significant titles. We did some sales. I learned a lot about online marketing, but we didn't. Overall, that company wasn't a success. So that's another fail. So what did I do? Back to school. All right, so I decided I've got to go learn about business. I have to understand business. Here I was with a film degree and sort of a philosophy degree and, I don't know, some Eastern religious studies degree, none of which was probably helping me. So I said, I'm going to go back to school and study business and maybe take a job, okay? because this was difficult. And I did my Adobe internship. I got a good offer from Adobe. And my wife was excited about that. I was excited about that. It seemed like I could have a good job. This is Shantanu, the CEO of Adobe. So I got to meet him, and yeah, I was an intern for Adobe. That was great. And then, so this is the picture of me at the time. I'm on my way. Everything's going well. I wear a suit now. But then this started to happen, and then something like that. So in my second year of my MBA, I was sitting in the class, and they were talking about leveraging capital, and how to leverage capital, why it was important, and how you could get more out of things by. And I thought, this is what we did so badly at. We were so bad at leveraging capital. We were so bad at our cycle time. There were all kinds of things that were killing us in my past business, and decided that's like me dead. And decided that I would start again and go back to film. And so this is a couple of years ago. And slowed down my MBA to a crawl. Still doing it. I'm getting finished. I'm in B2B marketing right now, so I'm loving that. And decided to go back and make another business and try again at film. With some things that I got to say, every single class that I sat through in the MBA, of course, what was I doing the whole time? Every principle that was brought out, I was looking at what I'd done before. I was thinking about, how I would apply that principle to my past businesses. And what? Oh, yeah. Those are my other MBA friends in my second year. They would come out to set with me and get dressed up and run around and maybe sometimes wish they were doing what I was doing instead of getting good jobs. So the big realization I had, partly about leveraging capital and such, was that if I could somehow make a lot of movies, let's say I could make, I don't know, throw out a number, X $1,000 on a successful movie. And don't forget, I'd had these successful movies. People would say, oh, you're not doing film anymore. I guess that didn't work out. And I could say, well, it worked out for the investors. It worked out in terms of the movie got distributed and was seen all over the world and was on TV and in Walmart and Redbox. But I couldn't say that I could make a living at it because making one every year and a half or 2 years was very difficult. So I said, if I can make 5 movies a year, boy, that would be something else. And I started to look at what my role had to be and how many films I thought I could do. And so we started Arrowstorm Entertainment, and we said, we're going to do a lot of movies. We're going to do the ones that we've seen were being most successful before, that the buyers are still asking us, are you ever going to make a sequel to that? We're going to make those kinds of movies. Science fiction, fantasy, zombie movies. I hate zombie movies. I'll never make another zombie movie until at some point I make another zombie movie. But I didn't want to do them in the first place, but the sales were very good on them up front, and so we made a couple. This is us on O'Reilly Factor. They showcased Osombie, a terrible film that we produced. So something else about, it's funny, you can't hear what they're saying, but he's like, so is this coming out in theaters? She's like, what do you think? Of course it's not coming out in theaters. But anyway, but they did showcase it for us, and we got a lot of Kickstarter activity out of the exposure. That's her laughing about it at our expense. I'll just skip that. Oh, and this is us. We got in the sun. I was actually at Walmart or outside. I was in the parking lot of Walmart when somebody called me and said, "Do you guys know that they're claiming that your movie is is actually real?" I said, "What are you talking about?" They said, "Yes, it's in like the bad papers." And so I went into Walmart and found it right there and bought a copy. So that was kind of funny. Yes, if, the premise, the very viral, it turns out, premise was that bin Laden comes back from the dead as a zombie and raises an army of zombie insurgents or something. Not my story, but we did fund it. Okay. So I think this is a good question to raise at this point. What is it that we do that's different or special from the other people in our industry? So thinking about hidden levers now. Oh, okay. We're not going to watch this because there's no sound. This is a trailer for a fantasy film we did, which did exceptionally well and sold in like 25 territories or something worldwide. It plays in every language, every country, and cost us actually very little to make. So everybody knows independent films lose money, but our business model thrives in that market for that very reason, because you don't have to behave like the others. So I've got 5 reasons that the other companies fail. Indie filmmakers are budget stupid. They spend a ton of money on things that they shouldn't spend any money on, or very little money on. Here's an interesting graph I made. It doesn't include our latest movies, but the results are the same. So what this is you can see in ascending order here the budgets of these movies. Okay, they're not in order of time. Okay, this is in order of budget. So you can see movie McAllister, which is actually my second film, is last on the list. Well, there's the budgets of the movies, and then you can see the revenues. Now, does everybody know line of best fit? So what does this graph say? I titled it, didn't I? No secret. Budget doesn't affect revenue for these films that I'm making. So what does that mean? It means keep your budget crazy low, because, of course, budget does decrease your revenue multiplier, right? So if you've got a movie that costs $50,000 and you can make $550,000 with it, that's a lot better than doing something that barely breaks even here. Okay, so that's a realization that we had when we started Arrowstorm Entertainment. We said, look at all these movies we'd been doing, and they weren't all on here because some of these were Arrowstorms. But we said, you know, there's no correlation right now between what we spent and what we made, none at all. And that was a pretty big realization. Now that might be special to film, I should mention. That might be special to film because what film is you deliver a product, and it's whatever's on that disc or in that file, right? It doesn't matter how you got it. At some point you had this camera and these people in front of it, and they said certain things. And to some extent, how you got there doesn't matter. If you got there for free, it makes no difference. There's no quality issue as long as that looks good and cuts together well and is a good story, which is why filmmaking is one of the biggest dream arts or something, where people think, we could do it. These other people did it. They were nobody. That happens sometimes in film because really it takes talent, and that's about it. Okay. Here's some things budget-wise. We have tiny crews. If you came to one of our sets, here, I'll go back up. I haven't show them all yet. We have tiny crews. If you came to one of our sets, you'd say, this is it? That's a film production crew? There's only 10 people here at times. Now, right now, we have too many. We have probably 20 people there. But that's really, really small. And when we started out, our first 2 movies, we had the typical 40 or 50 people on any given day. And when you cut that down to next to nothing, some things suffer a little bit, but you move so much faster, you save so much money, you only have to shoot for 3 weeks instead of 5, all kinds of wonderful things, and the day costs you very, very little. All kinds of amazing things happen with a small crew. And I would say that to any of you who work in any business, it's the same way. Smaller, I mean, everybody knows if you're in here for any amount of time at the Marriott School, you'll find out that teams should be no bigger than 5, right? Probably already found that out. 3 to 5 is kind of it. Well, when you get to 20, people start to become unhappy and upset and don't want to work at all and get very lazy and think they can disappear, and so small crew. We had a mantra that was every dollar we spend has to make it on the screen. We negotiate everything. There's no sense just paying the rate card when you can just ask politely for less and half the time get it. This is really important. Hungry but talented. We look constantly for hungry but talented people. People who aren't hungry but talented are very expensive, and you can often find somebody who's hungry and talented who will work harder for less. Less locations, less cast, that's true. Script to a budget, that's true. Kickstarter, it's awesome for us. We're only doing about 10 to 15% of each budget of our movie right now on Kickstarter, but it's growing, and I'm excited about that. Okay, so human resources. Okay, these are the people that everybody wants to work with in film. And I don't want to work with them. And this guy is like the guy that everybody wants to work with in film. And I will not work with that person. And then I have this communist guy here. It just turns out he was a communist. But he looks hardworking and serious about what he does. And he's got this camera. And this is the person. This is hungry but talented, okay? And I think that's important in any startup business, is that that's what you're looking for. It's not necessarily rock stars. They turn out to be rock stars. So this is a big part of what I do, is I'm looking for these people, sourcing that talent. Okay. Filmmakers are notorious for making films that are unmarketable, okay? So I make things that may seem tasteless to some people, but I look at the market and I make movies for the market. So at the top of my list is this genre and concept. It has to be something that people are buying in the world. It could be just about exactly like the thing they bought last year, and it doesn't matter if you make it about something that people are buying. And so this is, for us, science fiction and fantasy are our best sellers. That's why we keep making them. 2 is star power. Star power doesn't have to be a star. Okay, it doesn't have to be Brad Pitt. But it could be, so for instance, we were looking, it was a funny thing, we were looking at whether or not to have a certain star in the film who would cost us about $50,000, or whether to have a dragon in the movie, which would cost us about $50,000 in visual effects. And the buyers, hands down, couldn't care less about that star, who was sort of somebody. And we're like, oh, dragon, easy choice. Put that dragon in. And so dragon is as good a star as Steve Zahn or certain other actors. Okay, yeah, that's sad to say. Okay, because the intellectual property at least is free. Visual effects, just big visual effects. They're getting way and way cheaper, and they go a long way. Action, we always put lots of fighting and action and explosions and that sort of thing in our movies because it's not that expensive now and it sells very well. And then professional filmmaking, and then look, story and acting quality, it counts. Not really. It's last on that particular list. Okay. Reasons indies fail, they're what I call product stupid. Interestingly enough, we sell trailers, not movies, okay? So if you looked at our sales, when we sell a movie, this is the amount of revenue that comes in based on them watching the trailer and signing an agreement after watching the trailer. This is the amount after typically watching the trailer and saying we have to see the key art. So key art is the poster, okay? And then this is the amount of money that we make after that fact. So it means that for us, when we're coming up with a concept for a film, we're thinking about what is going to go in the trailer. What needs to go in this trailer to make it really exciting and cool? And then the film has to follow through on that promise. Because if it doesn't, eventually people won't trust us and they won't buy from us. But we can make sales up front now because they already know the level of quality we're going to get, and they've seen enough of our trailers that actually deliver on a film that's somewhat comparable to the trailer. But if it ever was a choice, is the movie better or is the trailer better, we put a lot of effort into making great trailers. Okay. And last, what I call market stupid. So everybody in the independent film world is always looking just at this. They're looking at North America, English movie, and that's all that they care about. And they want to get into a festival and hope that a studio will pick them up there, and then that studio will just cheat them out of their money. But they'll have something written up about them that they can hopefully go on and have a career in film. That's the dream. And that's hard to do. So we think about things that translate worldwide. So a spaceship crash landing on an alien planet in the future and being attacked by creatures and aliens on that planet is the same in every country on Earth. You just translate it into the language, it's the same movie, means the same thing to them. An American comedy is gibberish. Doesn't matter how you translate it, nothing that happens in an American comedy makes sense to most of the rest of the world. Maybe it's becoming more global slowly over time, I don't know. But in general, the things that we make, we look at them and we say, boy with sword fights dragon. Same thing, every culture. They all know that it's no different in Japan or Brazil than it is here. So that's another thing that we recognize that nobody else was really realizing very well. And we said, we should be making these kinds of movies. So when people say, why do you make science fiction and fantasy movies all the time? I say, well, because we looked at it and we're smart, and those sell in all countries. So you can make, $150,000 sale by selling to the US and hitting that market square, and we can sell a movie for $600,000 because we have the other 3/4 of the pie. Okay, here's an actual report. We're very open, by the way. If any of you are interested in what we actually do, we tell all. So here's like a report from our sales agent. This is actually higher now for this particular movie because this was, I don't know, this is fourth quarter 2012. So this is an old report. We still get reports from them. But these are the amounts, and this is the amount of money we made. So on this particular movie, I think the budget was about $350,000. And we have something called the 700 rule, which is if we do everything right, we can make $700,000 with each of our movies. Not always true, but it's pretty close. And so yeah, that's how we get profitable. Okay, yeah, I didn't explain this. Okay, we don't sell DVDs. We sell film rights. So when I say, like, we use the trailer to sell a film. So Germany watches the trailer, scratches their chin, and says, I think that's worth $150,000 to us. Then they sign a piece of paper that says, we'll give you $150,000 when you give us that film, when you finish it. And then we deliver that to them, and they give us that check, and then they do whatever they want with it in Germany. They translate it into German, and then they put it on TV and sell DVDs and on demand, or whatever they want to do in Germany. And then take that the whole world over, and you get something like this. What did Germany give us? About $100,000 for this one. And on this one, UK was our biggest buyer. It's different for different movies. But so that's it. We just get that check, and that's just cash. We don't worry about whether they succeed, whether the movie does well. None of that matters to us. We sell to companies. Yeah. Oh, questions anytime. I didn't say that at the beginning. Questions?
Do you negotiate with them? Because, I mean, $150,000 versus $5,000 from Romania is a pretty big gap. Do you just take what you can get?
Yeah, I mean, you're lucky to get Romania. So you don't. So we have sales agents, okay? So you're digging in deeper. So I don't go and talk to the Germans. Our sales agents have a booth at the major shows, okay? That's MIPCOM, MIPTV, used to be MIFED, but now it's AFM and Berlin, which is EFM, and Hong Kong, okay? They go to these shows. They have a room in a hotel. They put up posters and play trailers on TVs, and all the buyers from all around the world for every kind of channel, DVD, TV, whatever, they walk around, they watch the trailers, and then they take out their checkbooks and they buy that movie. They buy the rights, and then they take it back to their country and do whatever they want with it. Okay, this is how the B-movie industry runs, okay, of which I am part. It's also how a lot of A films kind of get sold too, ones that don't have a major studio attachment. They go to these sales agents too. So we'll see other films competing with us at these shows. But that's how this is done. And then, Sci-Fi Channel in the U.S. and that sort of thing. They go to these shows as well, and they buy up movies to have as their Sci-Fi Channel original premieres, or, FX, or, other networks, Hallmark, Lifetime. They do a lot of independent films as well. It's usually ones that are made specifically for them. Okay, so there's a report. That's something like how we make our money on each movie. This is, there's no title. This is Kickstarter, okay? So, and I could have added Zombie Hunter was on here. Anyway, There's a pretty good line of rise. We had a bad one here. We didn't market that one at all. We were too busy. We didn't even do anything. We just put it on Kickstarter and let it go. Why this is so exciting to me is that, okay, so it looks like Survivor, just recently we did $42,000 with that Kickstarter. So our movies are like $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 movies, okay? So that's 10% of our budget at least coming from Kickstarter. And as that increases, it makes a huge deal to us because I can greenlight more projects, take bigger risks. And biggest reason it's not because the movies are getting better. They're not. Not really. Actually, Mythic is kind of awesome, and I'm excited about it, but that's our newest thing. But what's actually happening is our audience is growing. We didn't do anything, and all of a sudden our Facebook started to grow mysteriously, and people were coming and finding out who we were and what we were doing. A lot to do with doing these Kickstarters. So we're actually going to try and focus on that now and say, let's see how big this can go. If I can make $200,000 a movie on Kickstarter, then I've pre-sold it, and it doesn't hurt anything else I'm doing in the rest of the world. Kickstarter, loving it. And I believe that's a big part of the future because as DVD dies, and it's dying, and it's going to die very soon. And as it dies, there's money coming out of the system, and it comes back in the form of Hulu, iTunes, Amazon, Netflix, Xbox, whatever, all the platforms that you can buy movies on now. And the bigger your audience is, and the bigger your presence is when you roll out one of those movies, you get the better shelf space and more attention from those venues and bigger sales on those venues. Not just Kickstarter. Kickstarter's one of those. I would just lump that in. So really important for us to grow our audience. And that's what we're going to do this summer. We're going to hire some people and actually market and have a customer-facing portion of the company and do a lot of experimentation with very little money, but I think we'll learn a lot. Okay, quarterly sales. These are old. I didn't have time to make a new one. So we're doing very well. We're making more and more movies each year, and we have more money to play with. Our model was we raised about $600,000, brought that in the company, made a couple of movies. The money that came back from those movies made more movies. The money that came back from those movies made more movies, and that's where we are now. So the next round is the money that comes back from those movies, we're going to make more movies. Until we can't do that anymore because we're losing our minds. Yeah?
How many movies do you make now? Like in a time period, you said you were making one about every year, year and a half.
Oh, that was in the previous model. So we're at about 4 or 5 a year right now. This year it'll probably be 6. So 2014 we'll probably do 6 movies. Okay. Back to things I've learned. How are we doing for actual time? Is that clock just still?
Yeah, 12 minutes.
Oh, 12 minutes. Till questions?
Till the class period is over. Then we dismiss the class.
Oh, wow. All right, let's go fast. I want to take questions. Okay, so finding the hidden lever. We kind of talked about that. So the hidden levers for me were keeping budget way low, doing lots of movies. Okay, if I was paying myself and my business partner our salaries on doing one movie every 2 years, then the company would fail because there wouldn't be enough money actually in the system. But when we're doing lots of movies and getting lots of teams making lots of movies, and we just executive produce, then it's really, really doable to have a career doing this. So we're like a little studio. Anyway, that was crucial. Like nobody else does that. All the filmmakers I know do a movie every 1.5 to 2 years. That's how they do it. And we just do a lot more than that, and there's ways to make that happen. And it was when we asked that question and found the answers that we just decided to do this business model. Here's something that's really important. Okay, so each time for my first bunch of ideas, I thought I've got to focus everything on this, and if it fails, it'll be the only thing. You're all geniuses. I mean, you're probably not all geniuses, but you're all capable of certainly doing what I do or something like it, and making your own business and running your own business and making a good living at it. And so this is a bunch of ideas. Don't worry so much about one idea. Go for it, do it, but don't stress about it. Don't fight about it. Don't sue about it. Don't just move on. That's advice. I see a lot of people who are stuck on their one thing and can't get away from it, can't do anything else, and they'll never let that thing go. Best thing in the world, keep moving. Do new things, do different things, and you'll find something that works. Procter & Gamble has something they're talking about, the 75-25 rule. I like this because it was a lever, but you see there's distance from the problem gives you greater leverage. What they do, 75-25, is 75% of the time you're working in the system, 25% of the time you're working on the system. So we spend a lot of time thinking about what we're doing, being very serious about what does it mean when DVD dies. In your business, do that all the time. Work on the system. That means firing people sometimes. That means, but one of the biggest problems with entrepreneurs and new businesses is they're not working on the thing itself. They're inside that thing working on the problem, and they don't have any big picture, and they don't ever step back and say, what's killing us right now? What's making us struggle right now? So important to do that. Okay. Make money early. Okay, there's a bunch of reasons to do this, but whoops. But I really think it's important that you make a business and figure out how it's going to make you some money. It feels great to make money. You'll learn a lot about how your business can make money. I assume everybody's telling you to do this anyway. You don't have to quit, and you won't quit because you actually can be making a living at it. I made a living at movies for 4 or 5 years, kind of failing, but kind of paying the bills, feeding my kids, food on the table. You get funding because you're making money, and you'll have more money earlier. That's silly. Oh, yeah, do what you love what you do. You've heard that. I do what I love, and that's great, and I'm very happy because I'm doing something I enjoy a lot. Find the right people. Crucial. People all the time say, well, I kind of started this thing with this person, and it's not. Get away. Drop it. It never gets better. I promise you it never gets better with people who you don't like working with. Find people you want to work with. Let's see. I'm still with the same business partner that I started my first film with out of university. And I stuck to it partly because I enjoy working with him. If I didn't, I'd probably have quit a long time ago. All right. Okay, it takes a long time. So this has a lot to do with the leverage thing, hidden levers. It takes a long time to be able to see in the industry you're in what to do. Stick to it and stay in the industry and keep learning about it if you enjoy that thing and are interested in that. And eventually you'll start to see the things that the industry hinges on, things that you can play with, things that you can tweak to make a new business model. And you'll think that you have it now. That's great. Go for the lever you see now. Take the hinge you see now, make a business out of it, and then you'll say, why isn't this working? And you'll be frustrated, and hopefully you'll be making some money while you do that. But it won't really work, it won't take off, and then you'll change, and you'll pivot, and you'll learn from that. And then about 5 to 6 years in is like what I'm seeing from other entrepreneurs I know, and I mingle with a lot of different business owners. 5 or 6 years in, all of a sudden something will happen, and you'll say, that's where we could have been all along. Or, look how the industry just changed, and I'm the first to notice. Or, I can see what the future is going to be. And some people get it right the first time. They get what I'd say lucky. But you don't have to be lucky. You can work at it, and then 5 or 6 years in, you'll actually find it. And you do, like, Omniture is a great example. They floundered for years doing something like what they were going to do, and then saw the opportunity, ran with it, and went huge overnight. And they just had to find that one spot. And it wasn't because they weren't geniuses in the first place. It's because they had to be in the industry long enough to see the opportunity. That's what I think. That's it. Questions? No question. Sure, Stephen. So often we have multiple projects going concurrently, so I have to have multiple creative teams. Sometimes that happens. As much as possible, I use a lot of the same people over and over and over again for crew-wise. When you find a good costumer or a good production designer or a good gaffer, there's nothing better than finding them and sticking with them until they're no longer hungry enough, and then they need more money, and then you congratulate them and shake hands and send them off to work on things that pay them more, and that's okay, and then we have to find a new person. But yeah, we work with a lot of the same crews over and over again, and we try to do that as much as possible, but there's overlap, so I have to have multiple crews.
Do you contract with them as opposed to having employees?
Yes, contractors. So my company is 2 employees, sort of maybe 3 now. That's myself and Kynan Griffin, and that's it. If I ever had to, say, take a year off and think hard about how the industry is changing and what movies we want to make, that's fine because we have no burn rate because there's 2 of us. So we're very, very lean. And project to project, we bring in a big group of people and then they're gone. And it's back to us. So what's nice about that is when you have a couple of $1 million on the books at some point, right, you're in a very secure position because you're not forced. You don't have to do anything immediately. Whereas in other businesses where you're just floating that, you say, yeah, we've got to make this much this month, and you shortchange the long-term plan. We don't have to do that, so that's great about our business, and it's so nice not to have a lot of employees like I did in the software company, game development.
Do you draw your inspiration from any mainstream directors like Coen Brothers or Scorsese, or do you kind of like despise those directors?
I think I love the directors personally is different from the people I love professionally. There's a fellow, Roger Corman, who's famous for making 300 movies, all profitable, all terrible. Our movies are a lot better than his movies, and he's still around making movies. And so people point to that, or a company called Asylum who made Sharknado. Yeah, I was aware of Sharknado long before it became anything, and and so sometimes people think, oh, could you be inspired by that? I love Kurosawa. The Coen brothers are great. Michael Mann is great. I love the directors I love personally are very different from people that I look at professionally who might be more along the lines of sometimes Tarantino, or although I haven't seen one of his movies in a long time, but maybe inspiration comes from other places, or from Peter Jackson, or from these things. And that's professional inspiration, but personally, I love the directors I love. Yeah?
I'm just curious, do you see yourself sticking with your current business for the long haul, or perhaps doing an after the venture? So I'm going to stick with Arrowstorm Entertainment for, I think, a long time. We're not slowing down, we're speeding up, so I don't see any reason to stop doing that. And we're actually in a period where we're going to be paying off the investors all their money plus a bunch of profit. And then the company really, really belongs to us. It belongs to us anyway, but then all the profits belong to us in an ongoing sense. So I'm excited about that phase. We're going to build a studio, not an expensive studio, a crazy cheap one. We already have space, but we're going to build a decent place this summer, and I'm just looking forward to that period. But I always look at new things. I'm always having new ideas. I'm always scribbling out business plans. What did I have yesterday? There's something I thought of yesterday that was just a crazy idea that I'd throw out and anybody could do, but I can't remember what it is just now. It'll come to me.
Do you hire casting directors, or do you have yourself?
We mostly cast ourselves. Every time we hire a casting director, it's a struggle to get them to give us enough people and enough options, and they don't work hard enough, and they're lazy, and so we often do our own casting. We've found that the myth of you have to go through a casting director or the agents won't talk to you isn't even a little bit true. So we go direct to the agents most of the time.
Are you strictly on the business side, or are you still involved in the directing and creative side as well?
I write. I never direct. I directed in film school, directed a few of my own films, and then I realized, why am I directing my own writing? I should be giving it to somebody who can make it good instead of ruining the wonderful script I wrote. So I still dabble in the writing somewhat, but I don't direct. Think we out of time?
You know what we ought to do?
Yeah?
Why don't we, for the Q&A session, let's make sure we Sure thing.